jacking off.
Wait. So what happens when you're a fan of cyberpunk material like Ghost in the Shell or Robocop, and a big fan of fantasy stuff like Lord of the Rings and Dungeons and Dragons? Well, you out yourself as a massive nerd, but you'd also be in the right mindset to make Shadowrun, a wonderful world of magical powers, cybernetics, and soy. But what the bloody hell is it, I hear you asking? Well, let's break it down. Shadowrun is a 1989 tabletop RPG that takes place in the future. But like that future in which one could technically experience if they eat healthy and go to a gym and do all that nonsense. The first version takes place in 2050, but it updates it with every new version. It takes place in a dark future where corporations have gained unlimited power and now are nations unto themselves as they exploit the common man who can replace their body parts with cybernetics as a few punks on the edge of society attempt to eke out a meager existence by it's a cyberpunk setting. If I say cyberpunk, then every single cliche that you imagine is ticked by Shadowrun. It's not trying to reinvent, it. It's embracing it. It's just slurping up that cyberpunk juice. That cyber juice. But what makes Shadowrun unique? What gives it a USP? Why, this is a setting with magic. And this ain't no Harry Potter bullshit where the magic has its own separate society, where the common everyday person doesn't know about it, as the wizards are doing wizard nonsense in their castles like little babies.
You hear that? I'ma kick your ass, you snuggie wearing
Nah, this is a world where magic is as common as dino nuggets, and just as dangerous. This is the world where you can go down to the corner store and buy some voodoo trinkets with your $2 soy frappuccino, and then suddenly you have to call the exterminators because there's a goose all about. This is the world where you can be a human, your mother can be an elf, your father can be an orc, and Uncle Derek is still an asshole. Now this is not some random generic fantasy world that's being taken into a dark future. We're not going to be dealing with a Shire-like place being turned to a red light district like there's some bad Lord of the Rings fanfiction. Nope, it's taking place on Earth. This Earth. And unlike some other modern fantasy movies, there's actually a decent explanation to it. Simply, magic came back. It just came back. So it does mean we have to deal with Americans, alongside some outdated worldviews. I mean, this thing was written in the 80s. I can give you a more detailed explanation of the world, but it would basically be me reading the Wikipedia, and we don't really want that. Also, it doesn't seem to be the most well-maintained of websites. I mean, look at this. What? So sci-fi and magic is two things that you wouldn't think would combine well together, like this unnamed coffee drink and this unnamed soda. But when you combine the two together, it's not bad. And this is a setting that's been still going strong to this day. I mean, you got the latest version of the tabletop game, the 6th edition. That was released in 2019 with so much extra material. You've got books, like full-blown novels. Just, oh my goodness, so many of them. You've got games. The Shadowrun has an SNES game. Now, that's how you know you made it. Like, yeah, sure, the other 80s cyberpunk game had a full-blown AAA release with fancy smancy graphics, but did it have an SNES game? I didn't think so. Now, I could review the tabletop game. I mean, I do have experience with stuff that inspired Shadowrun, and I do like to consider myself a pretty good game master. I'm a pretty good game master, right?
Yeah, you're really amazing.
Thanks! But the problem is that we are dealing with a very nerdy elevator pitch. I mean, what if you combined cyberpunk with Dungeons and Dragons? And when you're dealing with something like that, you're only going to really get one type of customer. Nerds! And they do have a bad problem of overcomplicating stuff. I mean, they can't have complicated that badly. If only there was a way to play Shadowrun. I mean, I know there's the SNES game, but I don't have an SNES. I was born in 1998. I just got DVDs, the books, this lobster slipper. If only there was a way to play it without needing friends. What, perhaps if an AI took over the rules, and that way no human had to think about it. And they would be simplified for convenience, because even an artificial intelligence would have trouble with the rules. Ah, but it would take a fool to put it together, and even then no true plan would work. It would require some fluff-headed plan, some half-planned scheme. Ah, something truly harebrained. Sup, you son of a bitch. 2013, Obama's second term started, the English got another prince, Frozen was released, and Harebrained Scheme released Shadowrun Returns, an isometric turn-based RPG and probably a couple other words. This sucker is a bit special because this was released with the help of good old Kickstarter. That's right, we are looking at one of those successful Kickstarters. Now, I didn't support it. I was 15. Do you think I could be trusted with a wallet? I can't be trusted with a wallet now. But it was successful, and alongside actually releasing the dang thing, there was 3 people out there who actually had a game of Shadowrun with the original members of the team. So there's at least 3 people out there who know how to play Shadowrun. Actually, no, I doubt it. Now, with the background information done and dusted like a good afternoon clean, let us begin. Dead Man Switch. And bam, we start with the character creator. There's no Star Wars sprawl to give you information about the world or what to expect. It's your standard character creator. You've got gender, races, character classes, you can edit the appearance a bit, and pick a portrait. Now the game does have a nice selection of portraits that you can easily swap in and out in the game folder. Like, this is a good variety, and at least one of these you'll vibe with and... Wait, that's Vin Diesel. That's freaking Vin Diesel. That's the wheelman. Like, if I do some compilations... That's a Vin Diesel. Well, I gotta play as him. If there's anyone out there that knows how to deal with sci-fi nonsense alongside fantasy nerdiness, it's Vin Diesel. Now, I'll be doing another run alongside the Vinny one to help showcase some different choices. I mean, this is an RPG. For this one, I'll be playing a big, massive, and ugly orc, and it's me. It's me. Self-deprecating humor. Classes are a bit of a lie. It's less classes and more preset skills. The game uses a classless system. You can put points into anything and everything. So you can be a shotgun-wielding mage or a smooth-talking brawler. Or you can put points into everything and be completely useless. But Vinny, he is a pistol-wielding smooth talker. And Orky Me is a decker, able to hack into any computer system with ease. Also, he is an asshole. And last but most important is our name. Now for the Vinny run, the easiest solution would be to call him Vinny, or even the Wheelman, but instead his name for this adventure is Mango, because... The Orky Me run will need a heroic name, something to inspire the people. So we start the story in the most dramatic of places, a shitty apartment. Ah, look at it. You can just feel the cockroaches just crawling over the floor and sleeping on my food. That's what you expect. We are dead broke, with no prospects or money, which in this world is Nguyen. Look, the original was released in the 1980s, and there was some fear about Japan taking over the world because of some long economic stuff. I don't know. I ain't that type of YouTube channel. It's something for you to research. Have a fun. It's a side adventure. Luckily, fate has given us an opportunity with the help of our good old friend Sam. Sam Watts, a slightly terrible human being and a dude we once saved in a job that we flash back to. I'll save talking about combat for later, but it's worth noting that our tutorial slides also come with a slang slide, telling us some of the cool future lingo that I will probably use throughout the video because I am a cool dude. Yeah. Also, Sam is dead. RIP. Our Butteroony Sammy installed a Dead Man Switch, and has tasked us with getting justice for him. Now we can pick our motivation, whether it's out of boredom or a shitload of money. It doesn't really matter. We are talking to a video. The only ones that know is us and God, and he ain't talking. But either way, we are going to accept this mission. We can't just go, nah. So we head to Seattle, City of Dreams, City of Emeralds. It's a city in America. I'm an Australian. I don't know. What is Seattle? What is Seattle? Our first stop in this lovely City of Dreams is the Organ Grinders, a lovely bubbly chop shop where our dead buddy is currently having his corpse being poked and prodded. And considering this a cadaver disassembly plant, it's rather nice. Like there's a surprising lack of blood in the workshop area, and it even has vending machines. Heck yeah! Can get a heckin' Kit Kat bar after finding a Mars bar in a dude's stomach. Yeah! Also, that's not a perspective thing. Our short friend here is a dwarf named Dresden, our first allied person, and a helpful ally throughout this entire adventure. He will show us Sam's body and answer any questions we have about what the heck is going on. And shockingly, even though he's a coroner and has the profile image of someone who looks like they're gonna put together Frankenstein to Mozart, he has like 0 issues. So we learned that Sam died from someone called the Emerald City Ripper, which is lucky for us, as it means all we gotta do is find this murderer. Would have been a bit of an issue if Sam died from something like alcohol or a surgery complication. Vin Diesel has not really done too many courthouse movies. We also find some clues, some cash that we obviously leave behind, and a jerk-ass cop named McCluskey. Just a complete dreckhead. Nothing redeeming. So if the question of who killed Sam still being a blank, we actually gotta go out and investigate. But our friend Dresden decides to give us some additional help. Open up a nearby corpse fridge, we find an alive person. Wait, by the name of Jake Artemage. Hang on a second. Why does that picture look familiar? I see we found the returns in the Shadowrun Returns. And he's another chill dude, willing to help us out if we help him deal with some bad dudes. Apparently he has a bounty on his head. I wonder how he got it. So we agreed to the help and for the help. Unfortunately, we can't disagree to any of it. We can be a bit of a bastard and ask for cash to deal with the bad dudes, but we can't be like,
Flag off, man, I'm riding solo.
So with a paddle in hand and justice and union on the mind, we step out into the lovely and warm streets of Seattle. And while we are here on these streets, I'm going to talk a bit about the visuals. I bloody love them. Okay, the character models are a bit, like there is a bit of customization with the character's look, and what armor you are wearing alongside these cybernetics do actually affect how they look, which is nice. Still, some of the armor is not pretty, and unfortunately if you're not digging the look, then there ain't really many options. But there's a lot of lifting being done by the portraits, which I must say are amazing. These are fully drawn, custom-made portraits, and there are so many. Now, not every person you talk to has a unique picture, which makes sense. You don't need a picture for the donut guy. But also, I would love to get to know more about Dan Donut Man. Anyway, nearly everyone else has a picture. Some are reused here and there, but I am going to say 85% are unique, and it's great. There's some great detail in these artworks. Like you are looking at real faces which have some history and are fleshed out. They could have simplified it or used a modular face system, or even just have a good base for all of these pictures to be, well, based on. But for the most part, each face has been crafted from scratch, with different angles and lighting, and I would say they have captured the look of Shadowrun really well. Sci-fi fantasy is a very unique aesthetic, and for the most part, there ain't no real pop culture examples of the look. So, harebrained schemes will have had to take some inspiration from the books, the SNES game, and just pure creativity. And they have used all of that to create some really beautiful art that I am 95% sure has been used in almost every modern Shadowrun game. And heck, even probably a couple other tabletop games as well. So my fellow RPG players, keep your eyes open. Last point about the visuals is the environment. These two are really nice. Okay, they are less handcrafted than the faces, with them being more modular. Pre-made assets are being plopped down onto a map, and you can notice some of the art problems caused by this. But they made sure that these are really well made. Whoever that artist is did not get paid enough. Even if they got paid enough, they did not get paid enough. And like the faces, there are some great detail in the world which makes it feel alive. Like how the first fight is in a cheap bar in the middle of the dark with its blue top and improvised cheap furniture. It feels like a metaphor for the setting. I don't know what, I mean, I only got a B in English, but it feels like something. And as with most cyberpunk media, we will be spending a lot of time in dingy hellholes with garbage up to our ears. But there's some variety as we will be spending some time in clean corporate offices and cleaner education centers. All rich and beautiful detail and all fun and exciting places to have a firefight. Probably the only real negative is that the environments can also feel a bit dead. There isn't much natural movement happening in the scenes. This isn't helped by having the average Joe on the street just standing around. You know, standing around, staring off into the distance, probably having thoughts like, "Ah, man, I gotta stand out in this fragging rain when I could be at home watching the new Spider-Man trailer." I can understand why, because it's a lot more simpler this way, no programming and all, but it's still a bit weird walking into a room and the big bad boss of the area is just standing there, vibing. Now let's go from vibing to, diving into the grave. We kill some bad guys. And in the Vinny run, we kill the boss, while in the Pepsi Man run, we let him go because he likes to be different. This doesn't have an effect on the story, so forget it. With our need for murder sated and our buddy going away, we investigate. We find a bar tab with the name Coyote on it. A name that I don't think is their real tax-paying name. And unfortunately, it's our only lead. Though I'm trusting my gut that there will be more blood before we're finished. Any decent murder story needs at least 2 more bodies. Legit bodies! We all know that murder in combat isn't murder. It's just manslaughter. So we head off to the Seamstress Union. Nice place. It's 4 out of 5 bar with nice wood paneling, a live band section, and a good selection of drinks, and the bartender trying to be converted. The Universal Brotherhood. I'm getting real cult vibes. Yeah, it's probably just world building. And while we are here, we meet the crew, hack into the computer with absolute grace. There is absolutely no guessing at all. Don't say anything. And find Coyote has gone into some shit. And we get a new look for both playthroughs. Now, I am no expert, but this is the greatest outfit of all time. With no other real options, it's time for a rescue operation. We take a taxi as we support local business and pick up Paco, Coyote's boyfriend, whose traits are the gangster and Coyote's boyfriend. And also we have to pick him up no matter what. We also find another Ripper murder, and we are 1 murder up to this being a good investigation. With semi-free access to the body, we learned that our freshly ripped cadaver is missing an organ like the others that I should have mentioned, but didn't. Also, the murder is being observed by this guy, who is just giving real trustworthy vibes. Absolutely nothing bad about him. Off to Coyote's location, and it turns out to be a lovely, bubbly, better-than-life den. It's basically a crack den, but you know, future crack den. And it has what you expect. Druggies, drug dealers, a firefight, a fire dog, and a surprisingly successful rescue. I mean, yeah, Coyote does have a hecked up face like she was slapped by an all-powerful beef cow. She's alive and only missing 1 limb, which, considering things, it could have been a lot worse. There's only like 5 people out here that get this joke, but you know who you are. So we take the successful crew back to the Union, and there was much rejoicing. And as a reward for saving part of her family, the owner of the Union welcomes us to the family. Of course, Mango accepts because
there's always room for family.
Pessimman will also accept, as, well, it's free stuff, and he is literally unable to say no to it. I'm getting a pattern here, I'm sensing something. And now we have our main base for the adventure. We don't gain anything new topside. It's still a bar, but luckily there's a bar with a back room. Access via playing certain keys on piano, like this the bloody lair of a James Bond villain. Unfortunately, most of the cash was spent on that piano and the entrance, as look at this place. It's only a couple rooms, and that's an even smaller bar. And bunk beds. So a place if you had a friend and you walked up to him and you were like, "Hey Gary, do you want to go drink in the back room?"
sucks.
That friend would no longer be yours. But we are not here for drinking, we are here for everything else. And there's a place with everything else. We've got guns, Windows 95, magic Windows 95 for our body, and the freshly healed coyote. Now with some badass scars and a metal arm and an opportunity to finally get some answers. Basically, we confirmed from her that Sam was a dick, but a lovable dick. We also learned that the dude was dying, which, I mean, no shit. But then, bam! He was better with only a vague mention of his mother helping. Also, Sam had a twin sister named Jessica, and they were adorable as kids. Other than that, our investigation had hit another wall. The type of wall that requires actual investigation stuff, like going to find Sam's mom and his sister and interrogating, and then we get a message. Turns out, third murder. That's right, this Ripper is still ripping, baby, and we got another body. The power of lust and the ladder allows us to get into the murder site. A lovely site where they investigate air crashes. Just a great place that gives off wonderful vibes. And like every other murder site, we walk in and the general consensus is,
Man, this is flagged up.
so we don't know anything. Oopsie. But luckily, almost like if we had another murder, that if we didn't get at least a red herring suspect, there would have been some very strong words. Our lovely murder victim has a sister, Shannon Haskell. She's the person who we don't really learn too much. I don't even remember what she does for a job. She is nice, and that is her key trait. But we have a bloody bullseye in terms of luck, as our newly found friend Shannon is able to communicate with spirits. Speaking of spirits, you know who would be a spirit? The dead body. And you know who is trying to communicate to the spirit? Shannon. Well, frag here. We've got a fragging telephone to the corpse. Let's just call up this cadaver and ask him who murked him in this plain morgue, find the suspect, apply some street justice, and enjoy our earnings with a nice cold pint. It is so simple. Absolutely nothing can go wrong. McCluskey. Fine, we'll do it later. Before we do the break-in, Vinny decides to help Coyote with a personal mission. Nothing too hard. Just assaulting a future drug den and rescuing her brother from the drugs. We succeed in the first half, not so much with the second half, and we learn a very valuable lesson with drugs. Don't. Pepsi Man does not help because vendettas are not refreshing. And with only one task left on the schedule, we put together a crew for the break-in, and we find that another crew has decided to break into the same place that we are already breaking into. And unfortunately, these people end up for the simple discussion on the power of working together. So it's time to talk about combat. Combat is a turn-based RPG system. You got a set number of action points for each character, and you'll be using them to move dudes and shoot dudes. Luckily, there's always a bunch of cover around because this is a dark future where no one puts away the fracking boxes. There's various levels of cover which will determine how much damage is stopped. Alongside this is a nice selection of guns, sword, grenades, and drones. Though nothing too wild with weapons. You ain't gonna be attacking a person with a lollipop or marshmallow. And this continues through the actions. At certain points while you're leveling up, you gain abilities. These can be general abilities like being able to see the HP for enemies, or special actions that you can take with your weapons. Exciting stuff like shooting twice with a gun, or perhaps even going full auto. Some special actions do actually have special effects, like the leg shot for the shotgun. Speaking of moving, the isometric perspective can be annoying. Line of sight is a bit unclear, and you can't make small adjustments with the movement. It costs 1 HP if you move 25 feet or only 1 foot. And when you're making your moves, there's no button to tell you what enemies you can see at the new position, like XCOM. Heck, you can't even tell what enemies you can see at your current position. You just gotta hover over them and hope you can blast the bastards. And also hope that you didn't move to a position where they are still covered. Now what about that USP, magic? Magic is based on a cooldown system. You can cast a spell and all you gotta do is just wait a few turns to cast it again. Or if you want to risk it for the biscuit, you can cast it sooner, at the cost of some health. And I like it. You don't have to worry about stuff like mana or crystal, you just got a spell. And also, just because you're a wizard, doesn't mean you can't blast some suckers. Like I said, this is a classless system, so you can build a character who is a spellcasting wizard who rocks a pump-action shotgun. Only thing that will stop you is that cybernetics do hinder magic. It is one of those cybernetics who consume your soul and leave you as an inhuman husk who wishes for blood. But also this has no effect on how a character actually acts. It does lower your spell slots, and after a couple new arms and eyes, you can no longer cast any spells. But if you don't care about magic, fucking add those arms and legs. Go ahead. Also, there are some other skills that I did not even use during the game. You have summoning, you've got drones. If you like to punch people, then you've got adepts who can imbue their fists with magic, and so much more. You can really build your character how you want to. I mean, sure, this is an RPG, so some builds may not be as effective on higher difficulties, but hey, who cares when you can make a muscle wizard? Last thing to talk about is decking. Decking is hacking, and it's called decking because being different is cool. Don't listen to Huey Lewis in the news! It's basically another layer of combat where your decker battles programming and coding with its own coding and programming. It's a very 80s/90s look at how computers work, and it is great. And it's simple. Your decker can summon programs to support them alongside dealing with the enemy programs, also known as ICE. It's as simple as blasting them with anti-coding. Also, there's an alarm that will summon a black ice. If you stay too long, that can kill your decker, but one program is a hell of a lot easier to deal with than like 5. And unlike the tabletop, it's kind of encouraged to have a decker. I mean, it's a lot more simpler than the tabletop. Look at this, look at this. And unlike the tabletop, you don't have a bunch of people bored around the table as it's your turn and you're dealing with computer programming stuff, because it's just me, and I am everyone. I am the decker. I am the solo. I am the other solo who's been on his phone during everyone else's turn and is about to do something incredibly stupid. I am the fixer who's about to do something incredibly stupid on purpose. I am my Discord friend.
Wait, what?
I think you're a pretty good DM as well. Thanks. So yeah, fun. With so many options, you can really build the player and team of your dreams. Now you can easily make them not as effective, and unfortunately, since this is an RPG, you can't just counteract this ineffectiveness with the power of skill. But hey, you can try. And is it not the American dream to do something even if it's a really bad idea? Yes. Yes it is. Now with this Merc Squad dead who are here because of completely unrelated reasons, we complete the seance and learn nothing. Just vague hints and shit. God damn. Oh, and we get some DNA evidence. And this is the future, so we can just grab the DNA evidence and just jam it into the CSI database and find our murderer. If this doesn't get us our Ripper, then he's magical, and I'm going home because I didn't sign up for Magical Drek. Back at the Union, we meet the twin sister of Sammy, Jessica. One moment. Yep, that looks like a twin. And we get more evidence that Sam was kind of a dickhead, but now with reasons. Turns out there's some good old parental problems, including a dead dad and later a dead mom, so that's fun. And shockingly, Jessica kind of hates Sam. Bam! We have our first real suspect. Oh, and we got motive. Ooh, and turns out she is doing pretty good for herself, so now we have a potential way on how she did it. Unfortunately, we can't be a lazy detective and accuse her here and now, so we will just put her on the board and see what we can find out about this evidence. So we jammed the DNA into the internet and used the power of Yahoo Answers to finally figure out the murderer. We find it's connected to a dead dude and a current dude who is alive and also who has some funky history. Don't care, motive can be discerned with the power of fist when we find this ripperoni. We also find a location for the alive dude. He is currently working at a mental hospital, and god, yep, this is our killer. I don't mean to be rude, but it's like we have so many warning signs right now, and it's like, who else could it be? Shannon's able to come along, and it's like, might as well. She is coming along for free. So we enter the mental hospital, and shock of all shocks, it's a Drekhole. If it's not the killer's hideout, then we are dealing with at least several health code violations. Like, even this hellhole of a future is bad enough that I would say 2 out of 5, would not recommend. We asked for the doctor and forced to kill some time, and it's kind of a shame that we have to kill time in the same way for both characters. I was hoping I'd be able to do some hacking with my Decker Man, but nope. We just find the body, and the only difference for both is that Pepsi Man keeps the dead man ring to pawn off later. Nice guy. With the time killed, the doctor comes out, and son of a bitch. You! Oh, jeez. Okay. Ooh! Well, it's murder time. Yes, I know we are currently also murdering mental health patients, but there is no time to worry about that. We've got a big ugly bastard. There he is. Now it's time for the most epic fight of our life. And he's dead. And with that, the game is over. We've killed the killer, we've avenged Sam, and now it's time to go off and enjoy our hard-earned... Wait, hold on. Yeah. I just got word that even though he is the killer, he is not the murderer. What? Yep, with the help of a bunch of free evidence on a nearby workbench, turns out the murder behind these seemingly random murders, as our character helpfully puts it, the whole thing was a Frankenstein job. The Ripper was harvesting body parts to reassemble Sam's mother, Melinda, or the victims had transplanted organs, her organs, and the Ripper was taking them back. So now we know what happened, and we go back to the suspect board and... Wait a second. Jessica? Oh yeah. Now that just opened up a world of whys. I would look at part of some mad ritual, but this being done to create a weird mum zombie? A mumby, if you will? In order to satisfy some Freudian complex that would probably make Freud himself rise from the grave and go, hey. Nah, Melinda is just getting some reinterment. Remember, even though there's a world of elves, orcs, and low prices, Catholicism still exists. And what better spot to confront a murderer than our funeral? Ish. I don't know what to consider reinterment except a perfect spot for a one-liner. Something cool like, guess we won't have to worry about a grave for you. Or perhaps, when I'm done, there won't be enough left for you to bury. Still work in progress. We head off to a funeral-ish. And wow, what a sad funeral. Like, I know a funeral is meant to be sad, but also this is the wrong kind of sad. Couldn't have spent some cash on a nice funeral band to give this event some ironic life? So we confront Jessica at the funeral. After the ceremony, of course. We ain't a monster. Even if we wanted to. And Jessica basically folds like toilet paper and spills her beans. We don't even need to interrogate her. We just walk up to her and be like, you killed Sam. And she is like, yes I did. I killed Sam and the rest of them. I killed them because I wanted to put my mom together and give her the true Catholic rest. TM. Hi, I'm Lynn. Hey Jesse, can you please shout it? But now I'm with the Universal Brotherhood. Ain't totally not cold, that is really cool. And ain't doing anything wrong, now I will start running away for no reason at all. Well, that doesn't sound suspicious in the slide. Oh god, there's a hit squad. Funeral band, play! So we fight the hit squad, also zombies. That they have nothing to do with the plot. It's just magical nonsense. But the Universal Brotherhood, that totally not a cult have just tried to slap us. And now it's time to slap back. We put together another slap squad, though not without Shen, as she is no longer powered by vengeance. The fool. But on a more serious note, in both playthroughs we get Coyote as a required partner, and I am disappointed. Pepsi Man has been rude to Coyote and unhelpful to her this entire game, and she still acts like we haven't been a major Jerkosaurus. Dang it, we did not even help her with vengeance! So while we do have dialogue choices, they often just determine how sarcastic we say stuff. The beats remain the same for almost both playthroughs as you have seen. Choices only really tend to come into play in what can be best described as problem-solving areas. For example, attacking the Universal Brotherhood. Yep. I was hoping for a kicking down the door and blasting some dudes in a weird church. But no. Our only option is to walk in alone, for reasons that can be best described as bulldreck. Now here is what my playthroughs did. In the manga run, I basically fiddled around until I found a way in the back. I took a kerosene can, bribed the janitor, and then used the kerosene to create a fire, and snuck into a kitchen to let the rest of the team in. In the other one, I tricked the receptionist with the classic, "Wow, I can't believe that
Insert famous person here.
it's outside right now signing autographs." Which is not entirely a lie, because there is a singer outside right now. Because. So with them away, we take a blank card, dump in some cleaning oil that was next to the kerosene, trick a dude into letting us get a new card, and then use our amazing hacking skills to get the super card that allows us access into every room. We find a list of names that I am 99% sure it's Kickstarter backers, steal a uniform, and then go into the kitchen to let the rest of the team in. Outside of some extra lore that I got from hacking computers, the only thing that I got from Pepsi Man's sneaking extravaganza was skipping showing up some giant turrets guarding the back. Pepsi Man was found at the literal next scene, and then both timelines converged. Choice is often a choice between either having a gunfight or skipping the gunfight. If we roll back the clock to earlier, to when we went to the drug den, Mengo was able to skip the first floor by convincing a dude to let him use his super secret stairway. Pepsi Man had to deal with the gunfight on the bottom floor, but both still had to fight a bunch of dudes on the top floor, and both rescued Coyote. This is all a bit disappointing, and having an RPG where for the most part the characters follow the same path is, well, sad. What can I say? I want my decision for Pepsi Man to be a prick to mean something. I want to know that winners ain't assholes. Speaking of butts, in the back room of the Universal Brotherhood, we find that these guys are doing some weird ritual nonsense. They've got a sigil, a sacrifice, and weird bug creatures. Yep, these guys are something nasty. And Jessica has officially gone full cult queen over here and is yelling about family and order, and it's clear we ain't dealing with a complex and nuanced villain here. The big plot of this game is that we are dealing with a cult that is summoning giant bugs to take over the world. But they're just giant bugs. We've got enough firepower to put a hole in the Berlin Wall. The only way that they could stop us if the invincible bugs are able to come back to life and... Fuck. So we decide to run alongside the unsacrificed sacrifice, Mary Louise, a whiz kid who is not really worth getting deep into because as soon as we leave the Universal Brotherhood, we get a call from another person, a Baron Samdi. Baron Samdi? Baron Samdi? I'm gonna say it as wrong as I can. A Baron Sandy! Smug bastard who sees himself as the master of the net. He's also the master of convenience as he is fully briefed with the giant invisible bug situation and just so happens to have a trick up his sleeve to stop him. All it will take is breaking into a corporate building, then heading into a corporate office and stealing a corporate secret project. And once again the linear nature starts to really show. Because you can say no to this, or at least you can try to say no to this. And Pepsi Man did. He did try to say his no as hard as he could. Because Pepsi Man is the worst. But eventually the game is just like, come on, man! Please do it! If you don't do it, we won't have a plot! And our character just bites the bullet and goes, fine. Which, I mean, come on. If I wanted to doom the world because Pepsi Man doesn't want to go on a giant bug hunt, then I should. You can at least give me a quick ending slide with a narrator being like,
Because you decided to be lazy, the bugs have taken over. You were eaten by a giant butterfly while heating up a microwave pizza. Nice work.
forced to accept a job to save the world like a chump. We assault a corporate office, and there's some really strong vibes of we need to get this thing finished. For example, the game says we need a decade for the mission, and they are not lying. And, because you could spend all your cash, they offer a cheap one in case you don't have the Nuyen. And this guy named Dodger is mentioned to talk like a Charles Dickens novel, and I mean, look at him. He looks like the type of guy who won't shut up even during the apocalypse. But the dude doesn't say a thing in the actual run. He should be multi-classing as a monk with how quiet he is. And in both runs, we don't actually get to break into the vault with a secret corporate project. Instead, we pull the old janitor disguise trick and start to sneak about in order to pull some dickery. Mango is able to get about quite easily thanks to him being the master of the tongue. Wait. But you'd think Pepsi Man, master hacker, would be able to pull off some more hacking stuff. Nope, we still use the tongue, but for some extra steps to lower the difficulty. Yeah, real vibes, the guy running this thing just wants to finish it. He is sick of Shadowrun and just wants to start playing Call of Cthulhu. Really wanting to spook the players and finally kill the bosses playing Pepsi Man. So we steal it. What do you expect? We are playing some badasses with a track record of awesome. We grab the goods, get out of the building, get arrested, and then get taken to the CEO of the building we just robbed and shit! Luckily, this CEO is also trying to stop the giant bugs. So all we've done is basically just put our application forward for the bug hunt. Mango accepts because the other option is jail or concrete shoes. Pepsi Man is forced to accept because this game will still not allow him to finally get what he deserves, that son of a bitch. And now, it's the end game. We gear up with enough firepower to start an apocalypse in order to stop an apocalypse. We put together a team, and unfortunately for this final run, the team composition is kinda preset. You see, in order to kill the giant invincible bugs, the secret corpo project developed a weapon. Now this weapon fires soul bacteria? It's like bacteria that is both dead and not dead because you need some funky nonsense in order to deal with funky magic nonsense. Basically, the weapon acts like a shotgun and is in limited supply. And unfortunately, we don't really have much control about teammates' equipment, so in order to bring extra bacteria guns, we need to bring the right teammates. One spot always be filled with this clown guy. He's apparently big in the lore of the tabletop game, but if you don't know it, we've just got a weird clown guy here. But that still leaves the other two spots. But we might as well pick Captain Armor over here. He too has a bacteria gun. So that leaves only one slot for our own person. Mango picked the only character which has some story connection, while Pepsi Man picked this guy, cause he has guns. And now it's final assault time. We duck and weave through the bug tunnels, blasting cultists, blasting bugs, and learning that they are more annoying than dangerous. I mean, look, they need 3 shots in their spirit form, and each gun only has 2 shots and takes an action to reload, and the guys have a bad habit of missing, and unfortunately when they revive and you put them back into the ground, the damage doesn't remain, so you gotta do another 3 shots, and this feels like a maths problem, and I am not here to do maths! I am here to stop some bugs! Also, there's this bridge. It looks like a fighting bridge. We don't fight on this bridge. It just feels like there was meant to be a fight and the creators never go around to doing it. That's it. It's just a thought that's been on my mind. So with the bugs stomped, some cultist minds changed with lead, we finally come face to face to Her Majesty herself, Jessica. Also, Lynn is here, but mainly Jessica. Now it's time for the most deadly fight of our, and she's running. Yep, our final fight is just running about, shooting Jessica, and dealing with more of those annoying bugs. At least it is easy. She may be under the influence of some immortal bugs, but good old Jessie ain't immortal herself. With Jessie and the bugs defeated, we are given one last choice. What path do we go down? Do we go down the Paragon path and arrest Jessica, that have faced the criminal justice system, or do we go down the renegade path of death with 2 flavors, either by our own hand or by giant bug hand? Mango chose the system because throughout this entire thing he's been a goody 2-shoes, and we might as well continue that trend. On the other shoe, Pepsi Man decided to continue being a complete monster and chose the path of the bugs. Unfortunately, we don't get to say a real cool one-liner. The game should have given you a series of cool one-liners for Pepsi Man to say. My submission for the one-liner is, I don't know where to consider this regicide or insecticide. Outside we celebrate like heroes. We are rewarded for saving the day and being badasses. Mango is given a drag ton of cash while Pepsi Man gets Detective McCluskey fired and gets the best line in the game. Also, Pepsi Man finally completes his journey and becomes a square for a racist. We say goodbye to Sam and Dresden, and finally, we make that phone call. Through all the sweat, blood, and giant bug organs, it is finally time to get paid. Anyway, you need to get paid, which would be great except for one thing. I got nothing. Never did. But hey, thanks again for giving a crap. Take care, amigo. See you in hell.
Son of a
And that is Shadowrun Returns. I enjoyed it. It manages to really capture the feel and story of Shadowrun into a form that is easy for the common dunce to understand. Like me! It definitely has the feel of a first game, like they're putting it together almost to confirm that they can do it and that people want to play it. The story is not complex and most of the characters are kind of forgettable, and the game's linear nature really hurts it. Having done 2 playthroughs really shows that the game has a storyline that it wants to follow, and you will do it. It's a disappointing thing for a story game. However, the gameplay is fun. It is simple, but you got so many options. Now I got lazy and just used guns, but there is magic and tech that really works, so if you prefer that stuff, you can use it. You can just focus on that. And there is one last thing. The game acts as a campaign engine. If you play this on Steam, then you can easily download full campaigns that people have made. These are full-blown stories with characters, new locations, and a whole bunch of fun stuff. Even though I have spoiled the main story, there are plenty of other stories out there that people have made that you can play right now. Heck, I might even have a deep dive in 1 or 2 of them, see what they're like. So if you're craving some more Shadowrun, or if this game is tickling your fancy, there they are. Free for you, made by the people, for the people. Truly punk. Cyberpunk. Wait, no, that's the wrong thing. So I had fun, and if you got the dough in a weekend, I'm gonna say you will have some fun too. And now I must return to the shadows. Oh, this thing really kills your knees.